President Trump has framed his latest tariff update this week as a widespread pause.
90-day pause for the people that didn't retaliate.
With just putting more pressure on China. And this was largely celebrated with relief.
All he has to do is give us a win, a pause, anything, and we're going.
But the numbers show that Trump's moves have actually increased the overall average tariff rate the US is charging on imports. Okay, here are the tariffs for 22 of the US's biggest trading partners that Trump announced on April 2nd. So I also included Canada and Mexico here at an earlier applied 25% rate, even though they do have other trade deals in place that mean no or lower tariffs on some goods. Now, the White House called these reciprocal tariffs, even though they were calculated based on imports and exports, not tariffs. Then there are these rates that Trump announced a week later, pushing most countries to a flat 10% and taking China all the way from 54 to 145. Again, no changes for Canada or Mexico. So it might be tempting to think about the tariff situation like this, that reducing the tariff rates on so many countries would mean a decline in tariffs overall. But that would assume the US traded with all of its partners equally, when in fact this smaller group of partners supplies most of its imports. You can see here in 2024, Mexico, Canada, and China combined for more than a third. So if you take the total imports of those 22 trading partners and multiply them times the tariff rates of April 2nd and April 9th respectively, you get this. And you can see, even with a lot of lower amounts across the board, the massive increase on China outweighs those. Now, the US does trade with dozens of other countries and areas, many of which also saw rates drop, but those account for just 15% of imports. And an analysis from the Budget Lab at Yale, a nonpartisan policy research center, found the overall average effective tariff rate after the April 9th announcement was 27%. Just a week earlier, after the April 2nd update, the Budget Lab had put the rate at 22.5. Now, they also point out that if these April 9th rates were to stick, the effective rate would go down over time because companies would gradually shift to import less from China and more from places with lower tariffs. But as Trump has kept adjusting rates in recent months, it's hard to predict exactly where things might move from here.